You know, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, when we started this process at the beginning of the year, I was somewhat optimistic when we saw we had $5.4 billion in settlement funds, and the governor proposed a 5-year, $750 million aid to bridge program. And I want to thank my colleagues in this chamber on both sides of the aisle who joined in supporting and sending a message to our governor and legislative leaders that we need to invest in our local roads and bridges, that's important. And I believe we really had a tremendous opportunity with that $6 billion surplus in the 5-year, $750 million program, a tremendous opportunity to partner with our local municipalities to help fix local roads and bridges and culverts. But instead, what we're doing is we're giving more money to the governor to dole out at his own discretion, more governor control of this money. You heard it already, state and municipal facilities program, $375 million more than last year. New York Works, $100 million more than last year. The state and local bridge fund, a new program, $150 million more than last year just for this year. That's $625 million more. We're saying to the governor, you take it, you spend it, you know best. Why? Why are we not sharing with our local officials, our local municipalities, our local property taxpayers? Why the hostility? We already talked about the hostility towards our teachers. Why the hostility towards our local governments? There's no increase in funding for CHIPS. There's a $50 million increase for winter recovery. Dispersed through the CHIPS formula, I understand that, but no increase in CHIPS. And granted, I am happy that we at least got $50 million. But when you're talking about a $6 billion in surplus that everyone wants to talk about for infrastructure, and a $750 million bridge program, and we're only giving $10 million more to our municipalities across the state after the winter they had, and with their roads deteriorating, it's not good enough. Everyone says we want to help upstate. Investing in the CHIPS program helps upstate. It helps everyone. It's a formula that disperses to everyone, but it's particularly helpful to upstate. Sometimes in our upstate rural areas, the CHIPS money is the only money they have to fix their local infrastructure, their roads, their bridges, and culverts. And think about it. With a property tax cap, a freeze, it's harder and harder to make those investments. You realize it costs $150,000 to reconstruct and blacktop 1 mile of road. Some of these local rural communities don't hardly even get that much money in CHIPS to do that. One county I represent alone is 1,400 square miles. If you took their town and county roads and spread it out, it would spread out from Rochester, New York to Sacramento, California. How are they supposed to keep up with this investment? You know, I was discouraged by some of the comments the governor said along this process, and you've heard him. He said, the state is not the piggy bank for our local governments. If you want help, add jobs. Well, Governor, it's not your money, it's the people's money. It's not your piggy bank, it's the people's money. Last I knew, the people in our cities, towns, and villages, they pay state income taxes. Don't they deserve to have some of their tax dollars come back to their local communities to invest to improve their local roads and bridges? Should have known by the comment the governor made in his State of the State when he said, infrastructure is not about roads and bridges. I beg to differ. I'm equally concerned about comments I've heard from others who said, we don't need infrastructure dollars we need our infrastructure dollars to go for economic development and job creation, not for CHIPS for our local highway superintendents to repair roads. To me, that shows you just don't understand. When you disperse money through the CHIPS program, it does help economic development and create jobs. Why? Because you give the money to the local municipality, they hire a local contractor, they hire local employees, that helps the local economy, which helps the state economy. Every dollar we spend in CHIPS, my colleagues, that's one less dollar that the local property taxpayer has to pay. When we talk about our local infrastructure, it supports our agriculture community in our rural areas. They have to go into the rural roads. It supports our tourism industry. What kind of message are we sending to people to invest in tourism, come to these tourist communities? The state roads can be great, the interstate can be straight, but the local roads are a mess and the bridges are a mess. What's that say? Talking about economic and job creation, last I knew our business is located in towns, villages, and cities. What good is it to have a great interstate if when they come off that onto the local infrastructure, it's a mess? I've said these statistics over again. I know you're probably tired of it, but I'm going to say it one more time, and I apologize. 87% of the roads in New York State are owned and maintained by our local municipalities. 87%. 52% of the bridges in New York State are owned and maintained by our local municipalities. 48% of the miles traveled are traveled on our local roads. You've seen the comptroller's report. 32% of bridges are deficient. 40% of our roads are rated fair or worse. One other thing, too. We have school buses that travel all over our communities each and every day. God forbid, with the conditions of these roads and our bridges, something ever happen. The town highway superintendents did a study. The cost is $1.3 billion just outside of New York City to fix these roads. The comptroller's report said $89 billion in unmet needs over the next 20 years. TRIP did a study, and it says it costs $2,300 per driver for damages to your vehicles for bad roads and bridges. We all know salt prices are up 25% because of the damage. The other problem our local governments have is they've lost 40% in federal aid. This money goes to the state for interstate now. It used to go down to our local communities to fix the bridges. They don't get that money anymore because of a change in the federal formula. But the state does. So they're taking that money to fix the state interstate and infrastructure, but they're not helping to partner with our local municipalities. We had a tremendous opportunity to do that in this budget, but failed. Again, with the tax cap and the freeze, I just don't know how our local municipalities are going to put up with it and deal with it. Again, I just want to say thank you to my colleagues who joined to help support this issue, expressing that local roads matter, that we must invest in our local infrastructure. It's important. I really, really appreciate the support. We had 86 people in this chamber, bipartisan approach, signaling your support for our local roads and bridges. It's my hope you will join and continue this fight because it's a very important issue. Our local roads matter. And it's my hope that this administration will reevaluate their position on this issue and partner with our local municipalities. Be a partner. Remember, the individuals in these rural communities pay state taxes too, and they deserve to have some of their dollars come back into their local communities to improve their local infrastructure. It will help the property taxpayer, it will help improve local infrastructure, and it's quite frankly, it's the right thing to do. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for your time on this issue, and I look forward to working with my colleagues as we move forward, because this is an issue that can't go away. This is an issue we can't ignore any further, and I certainly am going to do my best to continue to sound the drum on how important it is to address this issue for our local municipalities and our local property taxpayers, and to ensure we have a transportation system that is safe for our motorists to drive on. Thank you.